Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
What's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 47 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous episode, a very chaotic Azerbaijan Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into this episode then, a minor engine upgrade on the car, which hopefully should boost the overall performance. You know, the engine's very fuel efficient, but we realised really in the first 3 rounds really that we still have to work on the engine in terms of pure out-and-out power. A little bit deceiving really on the performance chart to see the engine quite high up for us, because most of that is due to the fuel efficiency. And so with that, we make a minor upgrade, but Force India actually upgrade more than us, and so they're just a tiny bit ahead of us on the R&D chart. You can see Ferrari looks like they've had at least 2 majors or maybe 1 ultimate upgrade to really try and close the gap then to Red Bull, who are yet to update then since round number 2, I think that is. And then Haas make an upgrade here to the Spanish Grand Prix, and they streak ahead and are back at the top then as the best car on the grid. Initially, Red Bull did get ahead of them by a little bit of a margin, so we could see a much improved Haas and Ferrari this episode. It may be more of a fight from Force India and our rival Sergio Perez there, along with our teammate, obviously, as ever, Fernando Alonso. But after last episode, obviously, spoiler alert, it ended in calamities for us, so I'm hoping for a very good race today to kind of bounce back from that. Let's get into qualifying then and see how we do over 1 lap around Catalonia.
Today's qualifying session is about to start here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, and what a cracker of a session we're expecting it to be. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction, and over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
Okay, bear with us a few minutes. We're losing hydraulic pressure. There's a leak somewhere in the system. Sit tight for a bit.
So to say, I'm hoping that this episode can be a bit of a turnaround from last time out. We start off qualifying with a braking system fault, so not the best way to kick things off here on Saturday. So we have to sit out of Q1 then for 7 minutes. Thankfully, that's not going to be an issue. It's not going to rain or anything like that, so we can just get going then. And we are doing 2 flying laps on the same set of super soft tyres here, because I want to save up some tyres in case I can't make it into Q3, or just extra runs basically in Q3. If we can have 2 runs in the top 10 shootout, that'd be very ideal. So you saw there the end of our first flying lap then, and we continue on because I fueled up the car enough for 2 different laps straight after the other. And so we go across the line, and that's going to be improvement up into P11 then. Eventually it'll be down to P13, but we do make it through into Q2 with no qualms. Fernando Alonso right up there in P2, so that's quite good. Obviously in real life, the McLaren car has always improved quite exponentially in performance here at Spain. Always. It seems to be a track where the McLaren chassis and the car in general suits really well. So I'm hoping that we can have a very good performance, unlike what we had at Baku, where we just about only made it into the top 10 shootout and we were struggling all race long, even before we had our bit of a calamity with Ricciardo. And so we do make it into Q3 then with only 1 flying lap there. So for the first time now in a long while, I have 2 fresh sets of the fastest compound available for the top 10 shootout here. So that's going to be really good. Fernando Alonso actually topped Q2, both Mercedes out, one of the Renaults out there. The Renaults had a great time last time out, but looks like they're struggling a little bit more this time around. But Alonso with a lot of good speed there, so I have high hopes then for what we could do in this top 10 shootout then as we go through on our first flying lap. At the moment, Alonso P4, myself in P8, but both of us will have another run here. So let's see, maximum attack on this full lap there. I'm going to let you guys watch the entire lap on its own without my commentary. Let's see what this lap will get us as we drive the car in anger here around Catalonia. So I thought that was a pretty nice lap. I felt really good about it, and in the end it's going to take us up into third place on the second row of the grid. But my teammate Fernando Alonso on pole position. We're 1/10 off exactly from Alonso though, so I'm not too disheartened by that. Really good that I'm that close to Alonso there after being so off the pace in Baku in the top 10 shootout. But Alonso, a pole position, and finally it's starting to look like our car has come good a little bit. Although, to be fair, like I said, always historically, Catalonia has been a good circuit for the McLaren car. So maybe a little bit biased in that way, because we have to remember literally one race ago how poor we were on over 1 lap pace. But surprising to see that on paper, Haas, even with upgrades into this weekend, are down the order in the bottom half of the top 10 shootout. Ferrari are a lot higher than I thought they would be, and Verstappen, their sandwiches, myself and Alonso. So might have some making up to do in the race for some of the AI around us. And obviously from first place in third place, hopefully we can have a really good finishing position compared to where we were in Azerbaijan. So let's go to the intro then for the grid, and then let's kick off Sunday.
What does the Spanish Grand Prix have in store for us today, I wonder? I hope we see some tight wheel-to-wheel action down the main straight, circa Mansell and Senna way back in '91, or maybe we'll have a more strategic race here on a track where overtaking can be difficult. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Fernando Alonso has a good view of turn 1 from his pole position slot, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have the engineer, Hülkenberg, Sebastian Vettel and Magnussen, Ricciardo, Grosjean, Ocon and Sergio Perez, Bottas, Sainz, Lewis Hamilton and Raikkonen. They've taken a grid penalty. Ericsson, Hartley, Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin. Leclerc and Pierre Gasly rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, so it's race day then, and here we are on the grid. P3 directly behind Fernando Alonso there on pole position. We've got the Red Bull to the right of us of Max Verstappen, and here we look at the strategy then, and it appears to be a two-stop by using all 3 compounds of tyres, which surprised me. I think we should be able to do super soft to 2 sets of soft tyres, although mathematically the game doesn't believe I should be able to do that. There is also a chance of rain, you can see on the weather forecast indicator right at the end of the race, so this might be a very interesting ending to the race proceedings. But for the very start, super soft to soft tyre, and then I'll guess I'll make up my mind on the fly of what tyre we go on for that last stint then. But here we go then to 5 red lights from P1 and P3 on the grid in the McLaren cars. 5 lights are out and we're underway for the Spanish Grand Prix here in Season 3. It's a fantastic start there from both Alonso and Verstappen. It's a piss poor one for myself compared to Hülkenberg and Magnussen, who have completely done me on the inside of turn 1 there, as well as the Ferrari of Vettel trying to go round my outside then into turn 2. We're going to dupe Magnussen though into turn 3 and get back the position at least up into P4. But Hülkenberg with an absolute flyer there. He had a really good time last time at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it looks like it's continuing here today. He's in the podium position for now, but Alonso leads the way. Verstappen second. Can we try and join Alonso in the top 3 by trying to overtake Hülkenberg then, as we find some really good traction on the left hand side though. No space to go. Can we try it on the outside then of the high speed chicane, left and then right, and we just about dance the car around the outside of Hülkenberg, and we are up into P3 indeed. And now can we try and close up on Verstappen and Alonso? The two pairs seem to be very, very close to one another. Verstappen really pressurising Alonso for that race lead. Meanwhile, as we move on through that opening stint then, Magnussen looks to overtake Hülkenberg as well. So Hülkenberg with a good getaway, but ultimately, remember, the Haas is the best car on paper going into this episode. So Magnussen around the outside to the inside then of turn 2, and it's a bit of an awkward camera angle. I really hate this camera angle in this game, but nonetheless, it looks like Magnussen has got that. He's up into P4, Hülkenberg down to P5. Behind him is then Vettel fighting off and trying to defend from Romeo there. So both Ferraris were a little bit down in qualifying, but they're higher up than the the Haas cars were on the starting grid, but Raikkonen dealt with an engine penalty, and Vettel at the moment struggling for race pace there, and Grosjean attacking him. So it might be another case of Azerbaijan Grand Prix where Ferrari had dealt a very embarrassing card here. Meanwhile, now we've got Verstappen round the outside of turn 1, bit of contact made between him and Fernando Alonso, but Verstappen looks like he's through, and he is into first place of the Spanish Grand Prix, and the Red Bull is flying at the moment there as he already gets away a little bit from Alonso, and Alonso loses a bit of time there by that contact they made into turn 1. So now to 2-3 for McLaren, with Magnussen also closing up in P4. So it looks like at the moment we might not be carrying for that qualifying pace as well as we hoped into the race. For the first time, I might be saying that I was faster in qualifying than I am in the race at the moment, because Alonso just got overtaken by Verstappen, and throughout this entire first stint, Magnussen's been closing up to us. Alonso and Verstappen come in, so we have to stay out for one more lap because I don't want to make the double stack work. But on lap number 5, you can see how rapidly Magnussen is closing up. We go defensive into turn 1, the inside there. For now, we do keep it ahead of Magnussen, but I think it's only a matter of time before we have the real issue with K-Mag, our old teammate from seasons 1 and 2, and we're going to have to do a lot of defensive driving, I think, this race to kind of keep that position away from him. But we come in then, double lock up into the pit lane for a set of soft tyres then. So we'll see how the overcut or the undercut works. Here's hoping maybe Verstappen and Alonso get held up in a bit of traffic so that me and Magnussen can pull through, or just really me, to be honest, but we'll have to see about that as we exit the pit lane then. But it looks like Verstappen and Alonso there on the right hand side have just gone past us on the main straight as we cut onto a camera shot into turn 1. There is Alonso with DRS open there, pressurising Verstappen, so at least that's good to see that he might be trying to stay with him for P1 then. It would have been kind of disconcerting if Verstappen just waltzed away, but to be fair, the Red Bull has shown some decent and dominant race pace before at the Chinese and Bahrain Grand Prix ahead, but these two have some traffic to contend with. You got the Toro Rosso, both Williams cars, a Sauber, and then also I think the Renault of Carlos Sainz. So here's hoping maybe that Verstappen gets held up and Alonso does not, and maybe he can catch him napping. But to say that, Verstappen is already doing a bold move round the outside of that first Toro Rosso. Then he's still there to the inside then for the next left-hander, and Verstappen with a really nice dive down the inside, gets the elbows out, gets stuck in there and gets the move done when it really counts, and Alonso's still stuck then behind that Toro Rosso car. So Verstappen's shown some good prowess then in overtaking, and obviously like we've seen in real life plenty of times before, as now we move on to lap number 10, and Alonso, you can see, is still being held up by this traffic, so much so that now I am in an overtaking range. I'm within 1 second by the time we get to the end of this lap then with DRS, and you can see how much the traffic is hounding and hurting Alonso. Verstappen up ahead is still not yet past that Sauber, to be fair, but at least he's not being held up as much as Alonso behind the Toro Rosso car. So as I look behind me there briefly, Magnussen not too far off us, so Alonso, myself and Magnussen might have a bit of a scrap going on here if we get held up by this traffic any longer, as now we go down to the end of Sector 2 into Sector 3. Will Alonso finally make his way past the Toro Rosso? He's going to try it on the outside of Pierre Gasly then. We're right up their gearbox, but we can't do much. We have nowhere to go, and I go a little bit too wide on this next right-hander, trying to do something clever with his switchback and swing round on Alonso and Gasly. Instead, I invite Kevin Magnussen by accident to send it down my inside there, so a mistake from me. I should have stayed tight on the line, and instead I'm having to switchback move on Magnussen to try and re-overtake him to the last corner, although to be fair, that was a pretty nice and satisfying move on Magnussen, but it's short-lived because then K-Mag comes back at me on the right-hand side, both of us with DRS, myself from Gasly and Magnussen from myself. He's overtaken us here. Can we try and send it around his outside there to retake the position into turn 2? We have the inside line, a little bit on the curbing, but Magnussen managed to squeeze round, but we're still there on the outside of turn 3, and Magnussen squeezes us towards the outside there. We're on the curbing. It's a great battle between myself and my former teammate. We're wide, but we cut back in, and we do a great switch as Magnussen has to let off the throttle, and it's a fantastic fight here at the Spanish Grand Prix between myself and Kevin Magnussen. Really, really enjoyable there, and we're just going to keep ahead for now. But you can see the squirrel on the exit there. The tyres are already going off a little bit, and the car isn't feeling too amazing compared to, well, clearly Magnussen's got some great pace here at the moment, because here he comes now flying. No DRS this time for me. He has DRS, he has all the speed in the world, and he's going to be passed here on lap number 12. Really annoying, but hopefully we can try and stick with him and then try and re-overtake him later on in this race. But for now, it might be a futile effort to try and stick with him and overtake him immediately before our second pit stop here. Although there's still some traffic to contend with here, so that might help us out. Leclerc in the pretty fast Sauber we've seen so far this season might just hold up Magnussen enough as we enter sector 3. Magnussen on the outside, just like Alonso did to Gasly, and this time round can we try and make a pass when Leclerc is caught unaware as we close up to him, but then again in the right-hander, again going wide, and that time I didn't do it on purpose. That time it was a case of just trying to get out of Leclerc's dirty air and not having the balance in the car, and the car wobbling a little bit, and Ricciardo just completely does me. So at the moment, the AI are pretty damn rapid around here, and I just do not have the pace against them at this stage. I don't know if the tyres are going off more than I think they are at this stage of the race, but I just don't have an answer really. Even with DRS, I can't close up on Ricciardo because he's got DRS as well, because he got that off Leclerc, and so that aids him into turn 1. And so now as we move on to lap 17, we're going to come in for our second and final pit stop. It's already getting a little bit darker, obviously, as the time goes on. Also the sun's coming down, but I think also the cloud cover is coming on, so I think there's definitely signs of that rain at the end of the Grand Prix that's going to come our way. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to change everything. But we're in then for our second pit stop with Magnussen as well. Ricciardo and Alonso continue on, but here we get held up, an absolute treat for no one. I don't know if that's the pit stop efficiency, the lack of one coming to play there, but I got held up a tiny bit by Magnussen, but then my pit crew just didn't let me go for a good another half second, I think, after Magnussen's gone by. So I don't know if that's the pit stop efficiency coming to play, but that was very, very frustrating because we come out there then behind a whole heap of traffic even before we can even see the back end of Magnussen's car. So we're just kind of going backwards and backwards in this race, unfortunately. And like I said, very surprisingly, for once, it looks like I have less race pace than I do in qualifying for some reason. As now we go through down the inside of Leclerc there. A bit of an aggressive move, I'll admit, but he is just traffic to me, so I wanted to get him out of the way. And so now we close up on a three-way fight between the Toro Rosso, Williams and Magnussen. Magnussen going for a double overtake there, but the Williams coming back at Magnussen. Stroll down the inside of the Dane, and the Canadian gets pushed away though. So can we make this a double pass then round the outside of turn 3? It's a lovely, lovely move there, and we make it work. And now we can try and chase after K-Mag once more. Lovely double pass there, and no nonsense passing on that half lap there. Got Leclerc into the chicane, got the Toro Rosso on the straight, the Williams turn 3, and now let's make a no-nonsense pass on Magnussen. We close up now on lap 20. Here we go, got the traction down the inside. He's on medium tyres, I'm on soft. Surprising there that Magnussen feels he doesn't have the tyre wear to go to the end on soft tyres, because remember, when I was at the team, I installed an ultimate tyre wear upgrade on the Haas car, so I don't know what he's on. For some reason he thinks he can't go to the end on soft tyres, but I can, and we've used the softer compounded tyre to good effect to get ahead of Magnussen there. Got the traction clearly and just did it down the inside. Very simple move really. And now we've got once again Pierre Gasly ahead of us. Hopefully this time round he doesn't hinder us as much as he did last time. Again, I'll try it down the inside, bit audacious, tiny bit of contact as Gasly squeezes me to the inside there. We make a nice switchback move work though. Really, really nice move once again. Second time we've done that on the last chicane to get ahead of him there. He sticks with us though with DRS as well as Magnussen, who have to do a bit of defending here. So I look behind me quite a few times. We cut across to the inside line there by one racing move to defend the inside. Magnussen with a big double lock up there, and he drags Gasly wide into turn 1, and that allows us to get back up into that position. I think up into P4 so far, as at the moment P1 is still Verstappen. He's now pulled away from Alonso, so it's looking like a very dominant display now from Verstappen getting into the groove. P3 is then Dan Ricciardo, so 1-3 for Red Bull. And so to say that Haas upgraded quite a fair bit into Catalonia this weekend to be the fastest car on paper by quite some way, Red Bull look to be once again the guys being more comfortable like they were at China and Bahrain. Behind us then, Force India, Renault, we got the Ferrari, then you got a Sauber of Leclerc right up there ahead of the other Force India, and then you've got the second Ferrari car just ahead of the two Mercs. So Ferrari once again, bit of a shoddy weekend for them. Again, Mercedes really not even a top 10 team anymore in this career mode season. To be honest, I should stop banging on about how far they've fallen. It's just a new normal for Mercedes to be that low. And speaking about a new low for us down here, getting overtaken by Magnussen, he just waltzes past us. You know, that Haas car might not have the downforce maybe compared to us anymore, but it has the straight line speed. It's still that ultra lightweight chassis machine. And so with DRS, Magnussen, I've just got nothing to contend with for him on lap 24. But as we move into lap 25, we're still within DRS range there, you can see. So I'm playing around with the fuel and the ERS, trying to keep things all managed and trying to keep up with Magnussen as best I can in the corners. I do have some decent speed. It's just really some of the traction zones, especially in sectors 1, where Magnussen's pulling away a little bit. But sector 2 especially, I'm gaining quite a bit on K-Mag here. You can see straight through this right-hander, I've got a lot more momentum than him. And as we go through this race, the clouds are coming in and the rain, it might just start to fall soon enough, and that might close the gap up, because genuinely I seem to be better. Remember at China how well my start was on lap 1 when it was slippery conditions, and here we go now with DRS down the inside to make a move on Magnussen to retake P4 in this Grand Prix. He's still there on the inside. We're toe-to-toe. We're through turns 3. We have the inside line. Magnussen has to back off there, and we make the move, and we're up into P4 once again. 6 laps remaining though, and now the rain should be pretty much on its way, and I think it is starting to rain now. If you look close enough, maybe at the very top of the chassis, the rain droplets are starting to come down. My engineer has also been telling me, verbally on the radio it's coming down. But here comes Magnussen now. He doesn't care. He's going to try and re-overtake me again with DRS. We come back at him into turn 1, and that was a bit of a cheeky move, but Magnussen gave me the room to go down the inside, and I'm going to take it. And so we're going to keep P4 for now, and Magnussen needs to try a lot harder if he wants to keep P4 from me. But as we move on now, another last chicane and another poor traction zone from me, and another chance for Magnussen to gain on me. I've never been historically too great at that final corner here at Catalonia. And so on to lap 30, 3 laps remaining, or 4 including this one, and Magnussen flies past for the 3rd time now in this sequence of overtaking. Literally an absolute ding-dong battle, back and forth between myself and my old teammate Kevin Magnussen here, and so that makes it even more personal. I really want to try and beat him here, just for the sake of saying I've gone to a new team and I can still beat you despite you having the better car technically. But now the rain really is starting to fall. You can see that just under the halo, the spits of rain coming down, the droplets on the halo as well, and also on the screen itself. And so it's going to be even harder now to make a pass, maybe treacherous conditions, but at the same time, like I said, remember China, I was a lot better on traction compared to the AI due to the rain, so maybe it might be an advantage. So if I just tiptoe around, take it nice and easy, be patient on the throttle, and that might pay me dividends, especially into this last corner off the chicane into the next lap there on lap 32. Let's do it nice and easy on throttle, climb up the gears. We've got the fuel on rich mix, we've got hot lap mode on ERS, we're going to go up to overtake mode then as we go up into 7th gear, open DRS, and I should assume maybe soon enough DRS might be disabled, so we're lucky to even get DRS here as the rain does come down even harder now as we move on to the new lap. But we are back ahead of Magnussen up into P4, and that was really nicely done. I could sense again that it was like China all over again. I just need to be nice and easy, because look at the speed now in turn 3. I've hardly taken any speed into there. We have to really lift off, and Magnussen has to do the same because the rain is really come down thick and fast now, and we're on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen has won the Spanish Grand Prix from Fernando Alonso, 2nd place at his home Grand Prix. Ricciardo 3rd. Magnussen tries a final pop into the chicane. We're going to be so slow. Literally, we're all just crawling around in 2nd and 3rd gear there, and we just about shoved Magnussen off there for P4 at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's been a tough old fight, but I'll take it. P4, pretty decent.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, I'd say it's just raw pace, plain and simple. I mean, we could sit here and talk about strategy all day, the overtaking, looking after the tyres, but at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else, and that's exactly what they had today.
And I can see now the drivers are making their way out. We need Red Bull fighting at the front. They do an incredible amount for Formula One, and that's another winner's trophy heading back to Milton Keynes.
So a really enjoyable race and a massive, massive scrap for there, the entire race long pretty much, with my former teammate Magnussen there. But good result nonetheless, P2, P4. A little bit upset though to see that how good Red Bull were. You know, I didn't really think they were going to be that good, but clearly, you know, they were already a top 3 team in Season 1, and then them upgrading, you know, so far up until Season 3 means they're very consistent, whereas Haas may be the fastest outright car on the grid at the moment, but they're very inconsistent, very much like they are kind of in real life almost. But you can still see, despite it being 1-2 for Red Bull, it's still all very close in the Drivers' Championship, and the Constructors even closer still. Red Bull in first place, obviously. McLaren, we stay put in second. Haas just about to stay ahead of Ferrari in third place there. Force India ahead of Renault, and Renault still just marginally ahead of Mercedes there. But going into Monaco then, we've got upgrades, and then into the heart of the European season, it's going to be a very interesting time to see how the entire grid evolves. You know, clearly we've taken a big step forward. Haas have done that recently with that win at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Red Bull is still there, and Ferrari keep, you know, kind of going up and down, up and down. It's going to be very interesting to see. And also Force India, how can we forget them? They've also been right up there as well, always being the kind of annoying neighbours in the top flight fight there. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how that goes. But the next one will be the Monaco Grand Prix, and we have that chassis weight reduction coming in. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to a lightweight McLaren, because even now at this Spanish Grand Prix, the car felt a little bit too heavy for my liking. So I'm looking forward to having a non-heavy McLaren car, you know, chuck it around the corners and it just flies through mid-apex there, hopefully. But now looking through to R&D updates, I was wondering what to do engine-wise. They're all ultimate upgrades or major ones. Didn't feel like doing those right now at the moment, so I'm going to go for another drag reduction update, a major drag reduction update, and that's going to be a big booster to our aerodynamics. We're going to try and level with our Haas there on aero-wise, and that should actually see us up into the top 3 aerodynamics-wise, and the drag reduction will hopefully help us in the races to overtake people with slipstream. Add on the fact that we got the chassis weight reduction also coming in, and so by the time we get to the Canadian Grand Prix, when that upgrade comes in for aero, it's going to be hopefully a pretty damn good package, and I can try and win maybe one of my favourite Grand Prix on the calendar, the Canadian Grand Prix. But next time out will be the Monaco Grand Prix. Looking forward to that. It's been utter chaos the first 2 seasons. Let's see if it's going to be 3 for 3 for utter chaos at the Monaco Grand Prix next time out. But guys, if you did enjoy this one, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been out for home today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.